Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another show. We got the DFS Army Killshot podcast, UFC Vegas 39. I'm Kyle Marley. I'm here with my man Dan Levy from Half the Battle. We're going to break this down from a DraftKings angle for you guys. Not the greatest card on paper, but somebody still has a chance to win 100K on DraftKings, so I'll be watching. I'll be playing. How you doing this weekend? Or this week, I guess?
Doing well, man. I mean, my birthday is Saturday, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Obviously, my friend Jared Gooden is fighting in his first ever co-main event in the UFC on ESPN, so I'm just so happy for him. And he's got a very tough opponent in Randy Brown, a guy that I've respected for so many years. So to me, that's the main event. And obviously, Dern and Rodriguez is just the icing on the cake. So I'm excited.
Hell yeah, man. I can't wait for that Gooden fight as well, and happy early birthday. I'm sure I'll talk to you before then, if not on your birthday. But yeah, hopefully you smash it on your birthday card.
I appreciate that.
All right, first fight of the night. We got Steve Garcia versus Charlie Antivaros. Garcia is a minus 320 favorite, and Antivaros is the plus 260 underdog. I usually love my curtain jerkers for DraftKings, but this one, not so much, really. Break this one down for me, bro.
You know what's interesting is when I first saw the line, I was thinking, man, why is Steve Garcia minus 300? And the reason I was questioning it is because you look at Steve Garcia's Contender Series fight, it was actually a bantamweight. He even missed weight for bantamweight. He goes in there with a guy who was a former flyweight. He runs through him. You look at Antivaros' debut in the UFC, it was at middleweight. So bantamweight to middleweight, that's a massive size gap. And then you take into consideration Antivaros has been in there with Jeff Neal. If you actually watch that fight, he even dropped Jeff Neal. He even reversed position against Jeff Neal. So right away, I'm starting to think like, man, this guy might be a live dog. But then you watch some of his other losses, because I can excuse losing to Kevin Holland and losing to Jeff Neal, right? Like, those guys are studs, man. Like, it's not a big deal, especially when you're going up against a bantamweight. Like, who gives a fuck? Those are some big boys. But then you pull up this fight that he had against this kid named Will Morris, who was like 1-0. And Will Morris just runs through him in a way where it's like, yo, like Antivaros might just not belong. And like I said, Will Morris was either 1-0 or making his pro debut. So if guys like that are running through him, and then he also has a finished loss to a guy who was 3-7. So honestly, to me, now the size factor doesn't even matter. I mean, it's, one guy's a middleweight, one guy's a bantamweight. They're meeting in the middle at 155 pounds. Steve Garcia is just flat out the better fighter here. He's just a tougher man. Like, Antivaros does have some skills. Like I said, to drop a guy like Jeff Neal, you do have to have skills. So that's why I thought he might be kind of live. I just don't think he's got that, that samurai spirit. I don't think that he can keep going when the going gets tough. I think that's the difference between the two of them. So give me Steve Garcia to finish this fight.
Yeah, I agree. And he's the side for DraftKings as well with his minus 135 inside the distance line. But at his price at 9,100, he just really needs to get that knockout. And the earlier, the better. Because I don't think it'll be just unbelievable volume, but I do think he's the better boxer. He'll be the one pushing forward, landing more volume. Antivaros, I think, should look to mix in takedowns. Garcia has no submissions on his record, so maybe Antivaros can be a danger down there. But yeah, I agree. Garcia is just the better fighter here. I think he eventually gets a knockout just because that's all we've seen from Antivaros. All 7 of his losses are by knockout, so I'm just going to keep that trend to keep going. I'll take Garcia to get a second or third round knockout here, but I don't know that he's going to pay off his $9,100 DraftKings salary. If he gets that knockout in round 1, then we're talking. Definitely not going to be fading him, and I'm not going to fade Antivaros either because he's got some power as well. Super cheap. If he gets it done, it'll be super low ownership, but he's like a 5% type guy where on the Garcia side, I don't want to be too far below the field because I don't want to get burned if he does knock this guy out in round 1. But yeah, give me Garcia with the knockout. Next fight, we got newcomer Sylvana Gomez Juarez. She's taking this fight on short notice, but she was scheduled to fight just 3 days later on the Contender Series, so I expect her to be in fight shape. It's just a different opponent, but that's the same exact thing for Gutierrez here. How do you see this fight going down?
Man, So it's going to actually be a really fun fight. So oftentimes when you think about lower level women's MMA, you think head and arm throw city and armbar from guard city. I'm telling you right now, Kyle Marley, this is not going to be that kind of fight. I mean, we got Godinez, who is a Mexican fighter. You know how Mexican fighters fight. I mean, she's kind of got that Andrade quality about her where she's a little bull. She goes forward. She throws big bombs. She'll pick you up over her head and slam you. But on the other side of things, in the newcomer, she's from Argentina. And if you know anything about ladies from Argentina, I can tell you firsthand from experience, they are very feisty. So I expect this to actually be a stand-up war. I think it's going to be really exciting. I'm not sure if it's going to score that highly on DraftKings. So it might be a pass from there, but it's definitely not going to be a pass in terms of watching it. I think it's going to be very exciting. Maybe a dogger pass situation. I kind of do lean towards Godinez, though, because even though the newcomer has twice the experience, at least Godinez has 15 minutes under her belt inside the octagon under those bright lights, and that counts for a lot. So give me Godinez in a split decision, exciting type fight.
Yeah, I agree. I like this fight much more than Godinez's original matchup, and I think it's a harder fight for her. I think this will be a firefight on the feet. I'm looking forward to it. I think it could be fun. I think it could be good on DraftKings as well if it is high-paced. But I don't see a finish really from either one of these. I just kind of see it like you do, a split decision where it's pretty close. I think dog or pass on the betting line, and I'm cool with either one of them on DraftKings. If I need the money, I'm definitely cool going down to Juarez. But at the same time, I don't know if Godinez is going to be too popular, even though it's late notice. And I think she could have some success with takedowns here. I think she is the better wrestler. She just has more snap behind her punches. So I'm going to pick her to win. She's the younger fighter as well. Juarez like 36 years old now. So there's not much time for her. I mean, she's got to get it going now. Start her win streak from her first fight here if she's going to make any sort of run. But I'm excited for this fight. I think it'll be fun. I think Juarez is a solid cash game punt. There's no line on her DraftKings salary on her yet, but I think she'll be a solid punt when it comes out. I would expect it to be 7,600 or less. And I see this one just being 15 minutes where both ladies have a solid floor. But yeah, I'll mix them both in, probably around 20% range, something like that. I'll really just let the domination station over at DFS Army decide what I do with it with my 150 lineups. We had a takedown last week. DFS Army member Doug Diggler, he won $50K or $51,000 in the contest last weekend. And then we also had a tiers takedown. I do the NFL tiers note, so I always watch over there. We had a 17K. He split first place over there. So best time to sign up. We got NBA starting soon as well. Go to DFS Army. Use promo code Sleeveless. That'll get you 10% off. We got coaches and tools for all sports. I think you guys will like it. Give it a shot if you haven't yet. Next fight on the card, we got Damon Jackson minus 200 versus Charles Rosa plus 160. Man, from a fan perspective, I'm not really looking forward to this fight too much, but not many Jackson fights go to a decision, so I could see it playing a part in DraftKings. Break this one down for me.
I mean, just off the bat, I think that you can't be out here laying close to minus 200 on Damon Jackson. I mean, let's just get that out the way, man. And even though Charles Rosa, and same thing goes for him. If he was minus 200, you can't be laying that on him either, because these are the kind of guys that, for Jackson, when he's not out here getting finished by studs, it's usually kind of close, grimy, split decision type fights. Same thing can be said for Rosa. The quality I don't like about Rosa is, he can be taken down and he doesn't get back up. Now, granted, he is very hard to submit. I mean, that fight he had against Bryce Mitchell, he was in a locked-in arm triangle, and the dude just finds the littlest of space to survive. So it's very admirable. So I just see this fight being a lot closer than the line indicates. So for that reason, since I do view it as a split decision type fight, I think the value is on Rosa. I just can't be that confident because the guy's unathletic. The guy, you know what I mean? He can't get up from bottom. There's just so many red flags, but I just don't understand how Damon Jackson can be a minus 200 favorite against anyone on the UFC roster. So yeah, give me Charles Rosa via split decision.
Yeah, I completely agree. Just with everything you said. And for DraftKings, I think it's going to a decision. So I'm really not interested. I'm not going to throw this in any of my hand builds, I don't think, unless it's Rosa. I just need to throw an underdog in that I think can win. he is live for that reason. But I just think this will be a lower scoring decision, I feel like. And yeah, there's no way I would lay minus 200 on Jackson. This is much closer to a 50-50 fight. So Rosa or pass, I'll take him to get a split decision, just a 50-50 type of fight. But yeah, I'm really not looking forward to watching that one. Next one, we got Alexander Romanov, minus 600, our biggest favorite and our most expensive fighter on DraftKings, versus Jared Vanderaa, plus 420. Nice. Break this one down for me.
Yeah, look, Romanov's going to come out here and put up a lot of takedowns. It might be a one takedown and the fight is over shortly after situation as well. The only cause for concern, and the reason I'm bringing that up is because we are talking about a minus 700 favorite. So, you got to cover all your bases. The only cause for concern would be if he kind of gasses himself going for these takedowns. Vanderaa is able to get back up, because one thing about Vanderaa, he's very tough and he can kind of throw with a lot of volume and kind of gas guys out and put that pressure and that pace on them. So that would be his only path to victory, some kind of comeback due to Romanov pulling a stunt. But this is not Espino, who's also a credentialed grappler. I do think this is a spot where Romanov comes out here, covers his price tag, gets that takedown, and gets that finish. And I'm going to say schoolyard headlock, so give me Alexander Romanov.
Yeah, Romanov's going to be the chalk of the card, and it's chalk that I like. If this was a striking match, maybe it'd be pretty close, but unfortunately for Vanderaa, Romanov can go out there and get takedowns, and I don't see that going well for Vanderaa at all. I don't think he'll have anything to offer off his back. And we have Romanov minus 300 inside the distance. You got to like that. Romanov wins in round one, even money. So yeah, I'm all over Romanov. He's the closest thing to a lock on the card. I don't even hate just throwing him into all 150 of my lineups, but he is going to be the chalk of the card. He'll probably be 60+% owned. So if he doesn't get the finish, if he goes out there and gets, 67 points like he had in his last fight, then he's going to burn off most of the field, and you could just be different by not using Romanov. That would be the way to do it, but I think he's a lock in cash games, and I would rather go with a full 150 rather than a fade on this guy. Give me all that chalk. I think he gets the finish here, just mauls him on the ground, gets a submission or a ground and pound finish. And Vanderaa will just be a full fade for me. I'd rather target other underdogs. All right, next fight. Looks like we got everyone's favorite fighter on Twitter here, Chris Gutierrez versus Felipe Colares. Gutierrez is a minus 265 favorite. Colares coming back at plus 210. Everybody and their mother is betting Gutierrez in this fight, and the line has not moved at all. So that always worries me. How do you see this one going down?
I mean, here's the thing. Gutierrez definitely has one of the best calf kick games in the entire UFC. My buddy Cody Durden fought him to a draw, actually, and he told me that because normally with kicks, the part of the leg you want to kick with is the shin, right? He told me that Gutierrez, on some of the kicks that landed with the foot, he said those hurt like hell too. That's how hard this guy kicks. With Colares, he's one of these guys that you got to hit this guy with a baseball bat to get him out of there. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen anyone as durable as Felipe Colares. That Montel Jackson fight was absolutely ridiculous. The early going against Luke Jackson, I mean, this guy can take an ass whooping. So the path to victory here for Colares is that comeback finish. So I do think he can do it. It's just that he's gonna have to take a lot of damage early on. I just don't see a way that Colares, controls the fight start to finish. It's gonna be a situation where, he's getting picked apart, he's getting his legs chopped off, and then he gets an opportunistic guillotine or something like that. That's Colares' path to victory. I think it's gonna have to be some kind of comeback. Which, I mean, this is fighting. This is the UFC. So comebacks are paths to victory. I mean, people act like. People just write off comebacks, but there's plenty of comeback kids in the UFC that are out here being successful, and this is one of them. But give me the more technical guy and the more polished guy in Chris Gutierrez, but I'm not crazy about the price tag at all.
Yeah, same. I think Gutierrez is the better fighter of the two, better striker of the two. The leg kicks being really the most important part of this fight, the best asset of this fight. But I think Colares can have an edge through the ground. He's got power as well. Maybe he can land something big on the feet. I think Colares is live here. And just all the love that Gutierrez is getting on bet tips, I think the move is just to fade that and go with the underdog or pass, especially on DraftKings. I don't think too many people will be on Colares. So yeah, I'm kind of just changing my stance where I think this will just be a closer fight, maybe a split decision type either way. He should do what Durden did, go out there, look for takedowns early. If you can win the first round, take it out of him there, and then just try and beat him in the later rounds. I think that's a path to victory for Colares, and maybe even a submission. But yeah, if this goes to a decision like Vegas thinks it will, it's definitely dog or pass for me. I just don't know how Gutierrez is going to get there in a decision unless he's getting, knockdowns from leg kicks or something like that. So Gutierrez is probably going to be a full fade for me, and I'll just look to target other favorites like Romanov. And another one right here. We got Phil Hawes minus 340 versus Darren Wynn plus 260. Two wrestlers, but I think the line looks about right. We've had a lot of money come in on Hawes lately where it's pushed it over minus 300. So it's getting to about the top of the Hawes range for me. But I think he has a clear advantage everywhere. I think that they're both good strikers. I think he's the stronger, more powerful guy where he's a legit big 185er. And Wynn is like 5'4", 5'6", something like that. Just a little guy who's going to have to get multiple takedowns because he's not great at controlling guys on the mat. I think Hawes could just muscle his way back up. And even if these guys are in the clinch, I think just the strength from Hawes, I think it would allow him to get takedowns. And I don't think Wynn will have anything to offer off his back. If this is a striking match, I think Hawes is the much better striker, way more power. And we're not going to see Wynn just land 100-plus strikes like he did against Spicely because this isn't Spicely. You have to respect what Hawes is throwing back at you. So I like Hawes to get a knockout here. I think he could dominate on the ground as well. Wouldn't be a bad idea just to be the first one to look for a takedown and just make Wynn think about that as well. But yeah, I like Hawes here, and I like him a lot on DraftKings as well because I think he can go out there, get a knockout or a bunch of takedowns and control time as well. So I think he has a lot of paths to a high score. And Wynn, I think, will just be too popular for me to want to get any leverage on, where I think I might just full fade him and take that risk. But if Wynn does win this fight, there's probably going to be, 5+ takedowns, maybe 10 takedowns or something, and a lot of top control time. He would score well on DraftKings, but I'm going to take that stand and just be Hawes or pass. And I do want a good amount of Hawes exposure, but I would just much rather have Romanov if I'm choosing between the two because I think he just can clearly smash here where Hawes might struggle just a little bit more. But give me Hawes to dominate this fight and get a knockout. How do you see it going?
Yeah, I mean, look, firstly, credit to Deron Wynn being like 5'4" and fighting at middleweight. I mean, that takes balls. He's in the wrong weight class. I will be shocked if Deron Wynn comes out here and takes down Phil Hawes. I mean, we got to remember, people only think about Phil Hawes as this knockout artist. Phil Hawes is a D1 wrestler, man. I mean, he's not like Deron Wynn is not going to come out here and land multiple takedowns on Phil Hawes. I will be very surprised if he does. If he does, cap off to him. This is the fight I've been waiting for where the size is finally going to get truly exposed. And I think we're going to see a devastating knockout by Phil Hawes. So, I mean, you're dealing with a 6'2". It says 6 feet. I think he's more like 6'2" with a 78-inch reach guy, a full-sized middleweight who's also a D1 wrestler. This ain't Antonio Arroyo who can't stuff a takedown. This is a D1 wrestler with knockout power. He's a freak athlete. And Phil Hawes is a guy that paid his dues. Everyone wrote him off because when he was 4-0, he lost to Lewis Taylor. When he was 4-1, he lost to Julian Marquez. Like, guys, he had 5 pro fights back then. Like, he was just a kid in the game. Now he put in his work. He's seasoned. He's paid his dues. And I think he's ready to shine in the UFC, man. And I think that we're about to see some big things from him. Possibly crack the top 20, maybe the top 15. I think he comes out here and knocks out Deron Wynn.
I like it. I actually have him to close out a parlay with Charles Rosa from last week, but at this point, I think the line might – there's not really too much value left in the current line. But if you're looking for him in a parlay, him and Romanov seems like a decent one, I guess. Next one, I think this could be a real fun one and a sneaky stack option as well. We got Sabine Mazzo coming in as the favorite. Minus 176 favorite against Maria Agapova, plus 142. Agapova lost as the biggest favorite of last year. She let Shayna Dobson be the biggest underdog to ever cash in the UFC. She just got tired from beating on her, and she had 5 minutes of cardio. Not a good look, but if she's improved that, I think she's got the talent, and this could be just a fun, high-paced fight. Break this one down for me, bro.
So this is interesting because we don't know much about Maria Agapova. It's like we saw that on the Contender Series fight that she can't really stuff takedowns. She can't get up from bottom. And then in that debut against Hannah Cifers, I mean, she destroyed Cifers in a way where people were like, people were jumping the gun in a way like, oh, this girl should fight Joanna Jędrzejczyk. It's like, yeah, it's like, it's like hold the ship. You know what I'm saying? What's the expression? Like, whatever it is, you know what I'm trying to say. Hold your horses. That's what I'm trying to say. And then the next fight, she fought Shanna Dobson, was the biggest favorite on the card. And Shanna Dobson doesn't just have a losing record in the UFC. Shanna Dobson has a losing record in MMA, period. And when we talk about stunts, that was one of the biggest stunts in the history of the sport. Now, was it a question of she kind of got carried away, she blew that load? Or is it that she actually does have a cardio issue and we need to be very aware going forward? Now, here's the thing. Sabine Mazzo, the way she fights is it's a lot of pitter patter on the feet, and then from time to time she'll land some brutal head kicks, right? So stylistically, it might actually be kind of an even matchup with them just going out there trying to bang it out. So I lean Mazzo just because I've seen less red flags from her, but realistically, just how they match up stylistically, I could see this being a closer fight than the line indicates.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Mazzo's just the better pure striker. You see she's landing, 100 plus strikes in 3 of these fights. I always love to see that. And I think this could be similar to that, where they're just both striking at a high pace. And I also think whoever can get takedowns could dominate on the ground. Agapova more so in round 1. I don't know how she would look in rounds 2 and 3 if she's wrestling. But yeah, I think Agapova, I just like her aggressiveness. I think she's got some decent striking. I just don't know that she's got 15 minutes of striking, especially if Mazzo puts her on her back. I think Mazzo could dominate there as well. So I'm going to take the Mazzo side. I just like both sides of this for DraftKings. I think they both have 90 plus, 100 plus point upside here. And I think this has one of the higher total scores between the two on the card if it is as high pace as I see it being. So I don't hate the cash stack. Don't even hate GPP stack as well, because we only have 10 fights on this card. You got to be different somewhere. If people are stacking in GPPs, they're always looking to that main event. So they'll be on Dern Rodriguez, where we can get a little sneaky go here. Mazzo, Agapova. And maybe Agapova just dominates the first, 7 minutes of the fight or something, and then Mazzo comes back and scores a shit ton of points herself. Something like that could happen. So I might stack this in a lineup or two, because I don't see anyone else doing that unless they're listening to me right now. Next fight on the card. But yeah, I am looking forward to that one. I think it's going to be real fun. Next fight on the card, we got Matteus Nikolao versus Tim Elliott. Nikolao's the favorite here. He is up to minus 210 versus Tim Elliott, plus 168. I know you've been on Nikolao a lot in the past. How do you see this one going down?
Yeah, look, man, I really wish this fight was a couple years ago, because it would be max bet season on Nikolao. And not saying that I don't think he's going to win now. It's just that you got to give Tim Elliott a lot of credit. I do feel like maybe he's starting to put it together finally, like after all these years. And it's not that he didn't have skills. It's just that he's the kind of guy that just goes balls to the wall. And when I say balls to the wall, he hits a wall and then he starts to fatigue, because, I mean, the guy goes 100 miles per hour every single fight. And you already know the deal. I mean, if you're driving on the highway, you push that pedal to the metal, you're going 100 miles per hour. I mean, do you think that gas tank is going to increase, or do you think you're going to have to stop pretty soon to fill back up? You see what I'm saying? So I just think that now he's starting to pace himself a little bit better. So I got to give Tim Elliott credit, man. He's, since he moved with James Krause, he's made some good adjustments. The issue with this matchup is that Matteus Nikolao, he's got serious hands for the division. He's got some good boxing. He's got a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's got 100% takedown defense. Now, you can make the argument that, look, he hasn't been tested by a good wrestler. Now, my counter argument to that is the reason he's got 100% takedown defense is because he comes from that camp, Nova União, who are known for legendary takedown defense, a camp that produced Jose Aldo, produced Renan Barão, Leo Santos. All these guys are known for legendary takedown defense, especially Jose Aldo. That's where Matteus Nikolao comes from. So when you see that 100% takedown defense, don't put an asterisk next to it. I think it's legit. So I think Matteus Nikolao comes out here, wins 2 of the 3 rounds. Maybe he fatigues and loses the 3rd round or something. Maybe submits Tim Elliott along the way too. I'm not sure what the method of victory is going to be, but I'm definitely picking Nikolao to win.
Yeah, I agree. I just think he's the better striker. I think he's the more dangerous grappler. But I give Elliott the wrestling, offensive wrestling upside and just the pace. I like the pace that he fights at. If he could put it together for 15 minutes, we've seen the upside that he has had in the past. And I do think if Elliott wins this fight, he's going to score well. He'll probably spend a lot of time in top control. But I'm going to take Nikolao to get it done. I think he can finish anywhere, but I just see him kind of keeping this fight on the feet for the most part and outstriking Elliott to get a decision or submitting him. I think he could submit him on the ground as well. Probably won't be too high on Nikolao just because I want so much Romanov, Haas, but I'm not going to X him out, that's for sure. And Elliott has to be an underdog that you target if you're making 150 lineups just because he has one of the higher ceilings on any card that he's on, really, if his game plan is able to work out. Next fight on the card, we got, the big one. We got Randy Brown minus 230 versus Jared Gooden plus 184. I personally think this line should be a little bit closer. I think this is a fun fight. This is my main event as well. Looking forward to it. Break this one down for me.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, I got to let you all know that I'm super biased here. I mean, Jared Gooden is a personal friend of mine. I mean, I've known him a long ass time, but after he knocked out Stoltze in that last fight, I mean, he came over to my house and we watched that knockout like 50 times in a row. So, I mean, I love this guy like a brother, so I will never pick against him. I mean, you could put GSP or Kamaru against him, and I'm going to pick Jared Gooden. So, just to let y'all know off the bat how biased I am towards him. But I like Randy Brown too. I mean, Randy Brown's a guy I remember cashing not just a max bet, I mean beyond a max bet when he fought Mickey Gall, one of the biggest bets I've ever made, if not the biggest bet I've ever made. So Randy Brown will always have a soft spot in my heart. But since I got to pick Jared Gooden, I mean, could you imagine me picking against Jared Gooden? He comes over to my house, here's a breakdown of me picking against him. You know what that conversation would be like. So I think that his path to victory here is to chop down the skinny legs of Randy Brown and eventually find a home upstairs for something big. I think they're both brown belts in jiu-jitsu, both got decent ground games. I mean, the reason Jared's getting tested so much is because he came into the UFC with a 16-4 record. It's not like he came into the UFC 7-0 or 6-1 or some shit like that. He came into the UFC already established, so they're throwing him to the lions right off the bat, and he appreciates it. Now he's actually taking his career more seriously than he used to in the past. I mean, you got to understand, this guy made his pro debut when he was 19, so he had to grow up in the sport. Now he's 27, so now he's starting to get that grown man strength a little bit, and I still think the best is yet to come. So you got to respect the experience of Brown. You got to respect the length of Brown. I mean, Brown has also paid his dues. I got nothing but good things to say about Randy Brown, but I got to go with the underdog here. I got to go with Jared Nitro and Gooden. I'm going to say second round knockout.
I like it. Yeah, I think Randy Brown's a real technical striker, maybe the more technical striker of the two. He's taller, longer. He can fight long. He's got a solid jab. He's got some good kicks. I think he is the best. I think, honestly, his best path to victory, in my opinion, would be to go to the ground. I think he could have a lot of success in top control. That's always been my only issue with Gooden is that he just doesn't do enough off his back, and he just relies on the ref more than working to get up. And if that's the case, I think Brown would just rack up minutes on the ground, score well on DraftKings as well if he's landing strikes down there, maybe even lock up a submission, but we haven't seen that yet, so I don't think he's getting a submission here. And I think Gooden is the more powerful striker of the two. If he's walking down Brown, landing some big shots, I think he can definitely connect and knock Brown out. We saw Brown get knocked out while he was in top control against Nico Price. We saw him get dropped against Vicente Luque before he even got dropped by that knee. And I think Gooden's more powerful than both those guys. Give me him in a bench pressing contest over both those guys for sure. If they're hitting that, that UFC machine, seeing who can get a higher score, I feel like I'm taking Gooden in that as well. I just don't think it'll end well if he's connecting hard on Brown, and I do expect Brown to go out there and look to strike more so than look for takedowns. So give me Gooden to get the knockout as well. He's also the more experienced fighter just in general. He's got like an over an hour more cage time than Brown does. He just hasn't fought in the UFC as long, so people don't know him quite as well. And he started out 0-2. He did land 100 significant strikes in his UFC debut, though, and that's something that Randy Brown has never done in his entire UFC career. He's never even landed 90 significant strikes. So I think not only can Gooden get the knockout here, but I think he can win a decision as well. Give me Gooden to get the job done. And I think it could be round one knockout where he just breaks the slate. So I like me some Gooden. Next fight, we got just a pure striker versus grappler matchup. Mackenzie Dern -170. It's getting a bit high versus Marina Rodriguez +138. Break this one down for me.
Look, I mean, both have such big advantages in their area of expertise. Marina Rodriguez is going to put on a striking clinic until she gets taken down and submitted. I mean, that's pretty much how I see it going. I mean, if she can survive on the mat somehow, then, I mean, she's going to win this fight. But, I mean, just like there's a huge gap in the striking, there's a huge gap on the mat too. And there's no tap outs from strikes. I mean, you can get knocked out, but it is rare for women to knock each other out, even though she did knock out Ribas. But let me say this, Ribas has been knocked out before by Polyana Viana. So there might be a chin issue on the Ribas side, whereas Mackenzie Dern is durable. Mackenzie Dern, you got to give her credit. Her hands have been getting better. She actually has some underrated power too. It's just, you know, her striking technique ain't the prettiest, but ever since she's been working with Jason Perillo, I do think her hands her hands have been getting better. Probably not good enough to have a stand and bang fight with Marina Rodriguez. I mean, Marina kind of reminds me of a Brazilian Joanna Jędrzejczyk. So I see Marina controlling the distance, controlling the range, winning the entire fight until she gets taken down and submitted. So give me Mackenzie Dern via submission.
Yeah, it's pretty much that simple. Marina is just such a better striker. Every fight starts on the feet. Maybe she can get the knockout. Mackenzie Dern's a terrible wrestler. If she's just struggling for takedowns this whole fight, she's going to get picked apart on the feet as well. It's just it only takes one maybe from her. And if she can get one takedown, the fight could be over 5-10 seconds later. She's just that good on the ground. And Marina's just too accepting to be on the ground. If she gets taken down, it's like she's a fish out of water almost. She'll just hang out there until the round is over pretty much. And that is not a good thing to do here against Dern. So, yeah, I agree. I think Marina just clearly wins while it's on the feet, but Dern will eventually get this fight to the ground, and I don't think she needs too long on the mat for her to get the finish. So give me Dern by submission as well. These guys, they're right there in the mid-range. Dern 8,200, Rodriguez 8K. I think Dern's definitely got that 100-plus point upside if she's going out there looking for takedowns early, which is what she has to do. She can't just accept a striking match here with Marina. Even if you fail on your first 6 takedowns, you should still be going for your 7, 8, 9 in round 1. Like, you need to get it to the ground ASAP. And I think that's what she will be looking to do here. So I like her on DraftKings. I think if she gets a first or second round finish, she's pretty much locked into 90-plus points, and I think she's got a good chance of being on the optimal, especially with 10 fights on the card. So I'll take more of a stand and just go heavier on the Dern side and then a little underweight to Rodriguez, because Rodriguez has to have a striking match for her to be scoring here. I mean, maybe she'll land some elbows or something on the ground, but she's really not going to be doing anything on the mat other than looking at the ref or ideally trying to get up. So it's more so Dern or pass for me. I think you can get away from this fight because the ownership should be heavy on both sides, but we'd probably need Marina to win rounds 1 and 2 or however many rounds, and then Dern to get a later finish for this fight to not be on the optimal. So I don't want to take too many chances of that not happening, but I'm cool with like 60% Dern, 20% Rodriguez, and then fade with my other 20%, something like that. I haven't built lineups, but I can see that being around the route I'll be taking. But yeah, go Dern by submission. And then to end every card, we like to pick out a kill shot, and that's usually an underdog, but if it's not an underdog, just a favorite who will be low owned on DraftKings, who we think will be the person who gets us that $100,000 on DraftKings. You got somebody in mind? I feel like you do.
Underdog kill shot, Jared Gooden. Favorite kill shot, Phil Haas. Both win by knockout.
Yeah, Gooden was where I thought you'd be going there. I would have had the same thing, of course, but I figured I'd give that one to you. And I changed mine today just after seeing all these people picking Chris Gutierrez. I'll take Colares as my kill shot. Maybe he locks up a submission in round 1, kills off. I don't know how much of the field he'll kill off because I don't know that Gutierrez will be popular on DraftKings, but that's just not how all those big-ass casinos were built, by everybody being right. So feel like maybe an underdog that can ruin a lot of parties here is Colares. So I'll be taking him. Good luck to you, Dan, on Saturday. Happy birthday as well. Go Jared Gooden. We'll be rooting for you. And good luck to everybody listening. Hope to see some helmets on the top of that leaderboard. Sign up if you haven't yet. Promo code Sleeveless will save you 10%. DFSarmy.com. Let's get it. Good luck. Peace out.